Hey, welcome to Northumberland Zoo on YouTube. My name is Maxine and I work here. Now today is International Serval Day. So I'm actually down at the Serval enclosure. We're going to learn a little bit more about them and chat with their keeper Elizabeth. We're going to do some cool stuff with this new camera that I've got, Insta360. And we're going to talk about why International Serval Day is so important. One of the big problems with this particular species is that people actually, in the UK, you can legally breed them with domestic cats to create like these kind of fancy designer cats like called Savannah Cats, etc. And we're part of a campaign which is across quite a few different zoos that hold Serval called the Servival campaign, and this day kind of celebrates everything about that, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. But first of all, we need to go feed these cats who are waiting patiently. So down at the exhibit, if you've been here recently, we've got a whole new range of signage here explaining all about the Servival campaign and why it's really important to highlight it.
I'm going to get a couple of bits of food for her just to entice her out a little bit, and then yeah, we'll see what she does. They're separated at the moment because we're trying to introduce them. We do have the two separate pens, so we've got the on-show and this den here, the off-show den, and the paddock, and then we've got another off-show den and the holding area. So they each get a bit of outside time, and we will swap them every day. So one gets the bigger paddock and then the other one will get the bigger paddock on the next day. He has been housed with Serval before, so he's like, yeah, desperate of wanting that kind of attention, whereas Afia here has never been part of like any sort of Serval or seen a Serval before, and so therefore, yeah, she's a bit more standoffish, does like to kind of hiss at him and yeah, basically tell him to go away. So this is a catty. So this is our new male. He's come to us recently. He is an expat and he came from the Netherlands.
Can you just stand next to him just so we get an idea of how tall he is?
So,
oh,
yeah.
Of course he crouches down now, didn't he? Do you know how much he weighs?
About 14 kilo.
He's 14
So,
kilos.
yeah,
So an average domestic cat's around 4 kilos.
He's a big boy.
He is a big boy. He is slightly overweight, but we are working on that.
Yes.
And then at the back there, I can see we've got another little face.
She's a bit hissy at the moment. She came from Hamilton Zoo. She was rejected by mum, so she came up here. She had to be hand-reared in the end, which is why we think that it'd be a good idea to get two of them together, being him an expat and her being hand-reared. They're not going to be like a proper Serval, but they'll still have those wild instincts, which is why we don't go in with them.
Okay, so we've got a series of slides and
Yes.
security thing here. So what we're going to do then?
So we're going to go outside to the paddock, and there's a slide out there to get her onto the paddock, and we're going to keep him in. So we've got a slide here, and we can see that the door's closed in there, and so he's going to stay here, and we're going to try and get her out this way.
So one thing that Elizabeth hasn't mentioned is the fact that a cutty is actually castrated. So we have absolutely no intention to breed these guys. Yes, we do want to mix them, but it's purely for companionship, just because we think that they would appreciate each other. Afia is obviously being hand-reared. She obviously looks for humans for attention, which is not ideal. And it's kind of like the parrot scenario. We've got all those parrots, and once we put them all together, they kind of paired up and they relied on us less, which is nice. So, and a cutty has been with females before at the AAP Rescue Centre in Holland. So like, he knows the score, but she does not. So everything takes time. Oh, she's keen. So she's a small Serval. Here we go, she's right next to you. Just so that people can see how big she is compared to a domestic cat. Like, this is not an animal that should be kept in a house. How heavy is Afia?
So she's about 8 kilo.
She's 8 kilos.
So yeah, she's still and she is a small Serval. So yeah, average is kind of like 10 kilo, 10 to 12 if you're going for like your big males. So yeah, a catty can lose a little bit of weight. But yeah, she's a particularly small female, but also she is a lot bigger than a domestic cat still. So yeah, do not have them as pets. They do not make good pets, and they're wild animals.
Yes.
They're gonna, yeah.
100%. So she's going to wait there patiently while we go out on the paddock. I've got this Insta360 camera that I thought we could put in and try and get some really cool shots of Afia. We'll see how she interacts with it anyways. But yeah, let's go in. She's very keen. Are we going in with them?
No. So they still have natural cat instincts at the end of the day, even though they are hand-reared or they were a pet, and so therefore we don't want to get in the way of that. Anything could happen, and they are category 1 animals, so we do try and be protected contact with them, which means we never go in with them. The most we do with them is probably tongue feed them through mesh, and that's just to get a health check, get them on the scales, weighing scales and things like that. but we never go in with them.
I think that's a fair thing to not do, is go in with them. Right, so I want to place this camera somewhere over here, I think. Right, so... Okay, is it? Yep, it's recording. Cool. Okay, right.
Lovely.
So, yeah, we're gonna Elizabeth is gonna let a fear out now. See what happens. And then when is it a Cotty gets to come out? Does he get to come out overnight, or...?
So he's had the paddock yesterday and this morning, so he'll go in and we'll swap him around a bit later on.
Okay, cool. Are you ready for this? She says yes. So Serval are from Africa, and they're from the savannah, surprise surprise, because of their coloration. They've got a lovely kind of mottled pattern on their coats, which really helps them blend in with the long grasses. They've got really long legs so that they can see over those grasses, and they've got a superb jump. They can jump from nothing to like 10-12 feet in one go, which is super impressive. So what they do is they actually kind of hide in the long grasses, and then they just spring up out of the grasses and catch birds out of the air. Like, they're proper impressive. They don't really have massively long tails because they're just running along flat ground generally, so they don't really need that whole balancing because they're all about pouncing. So they're super leggy. Here she comes. She's gonna go in the house. I mean, this is just typical, isn't it? Cats, you can never make cats do anything. So my little 360 camera's over there, patiently waiting to meet Afia. So compared to some other animals that you work with at the zoo, where do the servals kind of sit in your favourite list?
I do like them. I really love the birds. I do the bird in the carnivore section. I love the parrots specifically, but I do love a carnivore. I love the raccoons and the serval as well. They're really lovely to work with. And obviously the snow leopards. Well, basically everything. I'll just go through all of them.
It's really difficult to pick a favourite, isn't it? Right, do you know what? The other day I kind of upset everybody because I was close by and the serval were like, I don't know who you are, so you need to leave. So what she's doing is she's peering around the corner from the house there. Oh, here she comes, here she comes, here she comes. Please don't break my new camera. There she is. She's so dainty with her little feetsies. So she's now getting her paw into that little treat ball thing and trying to pull the chick out. How do you feel about being part of the Servival campaign?
I think it's really, really important for zoos to spread that awareness and that message, especially as it is something that obviously has affected quite a lot of zoos as well, having to take in rescues that shouldn't have been rescues in the first place. Obviously it's lovely to have them, and it's lovely that we've made a lovely home for them, and it's a real shame that the exotic pet trade and basically just kind of social media is making this kind of life for servals that are just not a life at all, and they're kind of advocating a really bad home for them. So yeah, if you do see anything that is online that is promoting any sort of serval as a pet or anything like that, we just say not to like it, not to share it, and just completely ignore it.
Yeah, well, what's really exciting is Wild Heart Trust, who are the ones who kind of set up the Servival campaign originally, they've actually, they've got so much backing that we've actually managed to get a bill's being passed through the government right now. It's up for kind of like tender, I don't know how it works, which is basically saying that they're going to look to ban any imported exotic cats like these for the pet trade, or any that are already been bred, so that's F1 and F2 generation cats. So basically, if you're looking on these fancy cat websites and you're looking and there's any of these fancy cats abroad, you can't import them. And then they're also looking to actually put a ban to the act of breeding exotic cats like these with domestic cats. And you might be wondering, like, why is this such a big deal? Well, it's a huge deal from a welfare point of view, because trying to breed a 10, 11, 12 kilo male cat with a female domestic cat who's probably like 2 or 3 kilos is a horrific thing for that cat to go through. And it's not right, and it produces these F1, F2 generation kind of Savannah exotic, super pretty, very spotty looking cats which look great on social media. But they are wild, and they go out and they hunt everything, and their behavior is shocking because they're not domesticated cats, and they cost, you know, thousands of pounds. And what happens is people buy these cats and have them in their homes as pets, and then they don't want them anymore, so they end up in shelters. And obviously these servals that get put through this process of breeding, they also end up in really, really bad conditions, because obviously their owners, people who are just like people in your neighborhood, could have a serval in their back garden or in their bedroom, which is where a cotty was locked. You know, they just have a really bad life, and then they end up having to get rescued. So this is why Servival and International Serval Day is such an important thing. So yeah, like Elizabeth says, if you see anything on social media promoting any of these exotic, weird breeds, Savannahs, Bengals, Chauceys, there's all kinds of ones, don't like it, ignore it, and try not to promote servals as pets, because they are not pets. Well, I don't know where she's gone, but good luck trying to get her back, eh? Yeah. Because I need to get my camera back out. I think we got some cool shots though. It looks like she booped the camera. So I'm excited. So the plan is obviously to mix them, and we have been mixing them on and off. We've probably done about 6, 7 introductions with them now. We started in the winter because a cotty arrived later on last year. Because Sophia is terrified of cats. She's never been homed with a cat. She's really kind of nervous of the whole situation. Luckily enough, a cotty, our male that we got in, is super patient, and he's been really, really good with her. But she gets a little bit stressed when she sees a cotty sometimes. But now that the nice weather's coming, she's actually started being a lot more flirty, and she's coming into season, and that happens quite regularly. And that's like a really, really good time to mix him, because she's actually kind of almost wanting his attention. So we're really hoping that we can catch her on one of these really good days. And actually they can finally mix, and she can finally realize that a cotty's not going to hurt her. But I think she's just kind of in that mindset of like, oh my god, what is that? But yeah, we've had a couple of really nice introductions recently with the weather been changing, so hopefully you know, hopefully over the next couple of months we can have these two together permanently. And like I said before, it's not to breed them, it's purely for companionship, just so that it almost kind of gives Afia something to do, because sometimes she can get a little bit stressy, and I think having him around, and he's super relaxed, chill, confident, I think that'll really help bring her kind of anxiety levels down. So fingers crossed, watch the space on that one. So what's that? Is that the rest of her meal for today?
So yeah, we've got 2 bits of rabbit for them, and then because she's so dainty and little, it's really difficult for us to put weight on her, but it's really easy for her to lose weight. So she gets mice and chicks, and they're not popped, so they've got yolk in, so all nice and fatty for her.
So how much like grammage, kiloage of food per day do the serval get?
So it really varies, especially depending on Afia's kind of whether she's in heat and her little cycle that she's got. So she goes really well, she doesn't want to eat at all when she's in heat, so she'll literally have like maybe 200 grams a day, but we like to give them around 600 grams is kind of your average that we're giving them at the moment each. And then when we were mixing them, we go up to around 1 kilo each, just to make sure that there's no like food territory or anything like that, any sort of food variable that's going into their mixing.
And so that's a combination of chicks. Do they get the grey squirrels as well?
They get the squirrels, they do like them. So they get, oh ooh, goodness. Hello. So they get rabbit, they get squirrel, pheasant. They have had a little bit of venison when we've been very nice to them. Chicks, mice, rats, loads of different things.
So yeah, have a look at how big this guy is compared to Elizabeth. Like he's like the size of a dog. Oh, goodness. And you definitely wouldn't want one of these guys in your house. So you're going to move him around. Yes. Into there.
So he's going to come in here. He's really good. So we've got little locks on here. Oh, goodness.
That was very quick. So that means that this is empty now. The on-show is empty and secure. He's locked back there. There's no chance of accidentally mixing them. And then what we're going to do is open up this door, and hopefully Afia will come in, and then I can rescue my camera.
you.
Cats never do what you want them to do when you want them to do it.
100%.
So in here you might be wondering, why have we got an air horn? So when mixing servals, it can be really, really risky, especially when mixing males and females together. And there has been some cases in captivity, often not just serval, but larger cat species where, because the male's so much bigger, they can actually kill the female. So when we mix them, it's kind of a stressful process. And we have to have keepers all around and on gates and doors and everything with, you know, air horns, fire extinguishers, all kinds of stuff ready to kind of jump in if you can see that it's going south. But luckily enough, like, Akati's been such a gentleman that we haven't had to resort to any of that, and we're pretty confident now with the way it's been going, especially recently, that hopefully we can get a positive outcome at some point in 2025. She's not coming in, is she?
She's not.
I'll go around the front, see what she's doing. I bet she's sunbathing. Nope, can't see her. She hasn't destroyed the camera. I bet she's just sat in here. Yep, she is. Oh, you're not getting her in a million years, man. So there we go, that's our serval. I hope that you enjoyed that video and getting to see them a little bit closer up. And yeah, they are super sweet animals. They look very cute and very pretty, and you can see how they've kind of ended up in the position that they're in. But yeah, just remember our words on this International Serval Day, that yeah, if you see anything like that on social media, then obviously just ignore it, and let's keep these cats wild and where they should be. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you haven't done already, please do remember to like this video and subscribe to the Northumberland Zoo YouTube channel, and we shall see you next time.